right, good morning. Interesting morning. I saw this very interesting video on YouTube come up on my YouTube suggestions on the push notifications. Alex Jones talking about Jordan Peterson's answer to the Jewish question. Everybody has a different Jewish question, right? So the Jewish question that's being addressed here is, why are Jews, I don't remember exactly what the title was, it was something, why are Jews more successful than other people, things like that. And and both of them kind of went through this question. I was really like taking a shower while I was trying to listen to this, so especially the Jordan Peterson part I really couldn't hear because it was a video within a video. Probably like you can't hear me over my car. Maybe I should speak a little louder and clearer. I make these videos and I don't really plan them ahead, but just sometimes an idea comes to my head. This morning while I was davening, after I listened to this video, it was mostly Alex Jones, and I'm not a huge fan of Alex Jones, but I don't hate him. I don't dislike the man. I just, certain things he says, I'm more or less a fan of Glenn Beck personally. I like his approach. I've yet to hear something from Glenn Beck that really upsets me. And also I like how he's very dynamic. But I have listened more to Glenn Beck over the years. I don't really have a chance to listen to him now live. I couldn't make time to listen to the podcast, but I'm always distracted by other things. I don't have time to sit down and listen to 3 hours. There was one recently that he said to listen to later that I would like to go back to listen to just to get an understanding of certain things, but I haven't really had time, and I have a phone that's kind of difficult to handle. It doesn't always work right away. It's slow, and so it's what it is. But it's fascinating how Alex Jones applies essentially social Darwinism and asserts it as a fact, which I think certain aspects, particularly the way he is describing it, are rather difficult to disagree with as much as I would like to. Personally, as much as as detestable as I find it, certain things are, they're just common sense, And he says, if you discuss these things, you're labeled as a racist. I mean, if we want to get into racial issues, I'm only half Jewish, He was talking about IQs. I mean, it's the way he was talking about it. I mean, I was always told, because I used to brag, when I was a little kid, I used to brag about my IQ. And I came to realization that that's a pretty stupid thing to do. But the tests say I have a high IQ. I don't see it in my day-to-day life. I don't see myself as such a smart guy. I find myself being awkward, but trying to fit in somewhat. Maybe I have something on the Asperger's spectrum a little bit. I don't know. I don't know. I don't put much stock into all these things, but I just see people as people. I believe very much in individualism, but I personally work for the betterment of society. But the other day I was reading a number, something, I got it backwards. I said, well, I'm half dyslexic. My mother has dyslexia also, so I'm half Jewish and half dyslexic. But those are both from the same side. Again, then there are people who say, well, there's no such thing as half Jewish. Either you're Jewish or you're not. They're like, well, you're Jewish on the right side because your mother's Jewish. They're like, well, my wife's Jewish on the right side because she converted and she's 100% Jewish. I mean, that's her religion. Genetics don't matter. It doesn't matter if you're black or Asian or whatever. If you convert to Judaism, you're 100% Jewish. My wife happens to be, European, half Hispanic. If you count Basques from Spain as being Hispanic, as the census likes to do, just to puff up the numbers. It's like, but really, Mitt Romney is Hispanic then because his father was born in Mexico. So. To me, all this stuff is nonsense. I don't know if it's nonsense or not. Alex Jones is pointing out something pretty true that you can't deny some of these things are true. I just prefer not to pay attention to them. I just prefer to look at individuals as individuals, not try to pigeonhole people into groups. You're black, you're white, you're Jewish, you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're this, you're that, you're gay, you're straight, you're this or that. We're all individuals. Now, these aspects can be part of your individual identity, and that does, in a sense, put you into a group, but I don't feel... behind the bus again. I don't feel that necessarily makes me, even though, I identify very much with my individual identity with certain groups. But in many ways, I'll feel more fellowship with people of different groups, quote unquote, than of my own group, quote unquote, in a certain sense. And in other areas of my personality, I'll feel more fellowship with those of my own group, quote unquote. I don't like this group mentality, this identity politics. It's not something that I'm particularly a big fan of, but whatever, it is what it is. So, I mean, I certainly recognize that the world recognizes these groups. That the world, that's a fact. And it's a fact that that's a fact of society. But, Alex Jones in this video, he was saying, certain things are not just a social construct, they are natural. Although he pointed out that many of the aspects of the naturalism are artificial constructs, not artificial constructs, but artificially, they're an aspect of technology, essentially. Just like there was a project of breeding animals, cows and dogs and chickens by humans, and to design them, whether it's through the old technology of genetics through breeding or through the new technology of genetic engineering. Although I think Alex Jones might be taking these things with genetic engineering too far, but I don't really know because I don't know anything about genetic engineering. He was talking about what Brookhaven National Lab or Cold Spring Harbor, one of those areas on Long Island, which I remember visiting as a kid. They have a museum there. But I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories about those places, and I don't know. Even after visiting the museum there when I was a little kid, doesn't mean that I know anything that's going on there. Yeah. Could Jurassic Park type stuff be going on? Maybe, I mean, these new Jurassic Park movies are taking it extremes, and they're kind of goofy. They're, but I don't know if I don't remember even ever really seeing the third one. I've seen parts of it, which looked pretty cool, but again, when I was a little kid, I didn't really care that much about the story of a movie like Jurassic Park. I just cared about the science and I actually, honestly, when I was a little kid watching science fiction movies, I was more interested in the science of the science fiction than I kind of even was about, certainly than I was about the action. Sometimes, I enjoyed seeing more these monsters on the screen, not in action, but just being able to see the monsters and what they look like and stuff like that. But is stuff like that going on? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not. I wonder, is this the same bus I was buying yesterday? Yesterday I said my good deed for the day. It wasn't my only good deed for the day, but I guess I was behind this bus, and then let's pass him. I'm not going to do that again today, though. The bus, it stopped for a kid, and then the kid wasn't outside. There's the alpaca farm, and the bus was leaving, and then the kid ran outside, so I honked the horn, and the bus stopped and waited for him. Didn't go back, but it stopped, and the kid had to run 200 feet, whatever. But at least he got to school, and not so much to help the kid, but to help his parents, that they shouldn't have to have him at home or have to drive him to school. I mean, I know it's like I have to drive my kids to school all the time. I don't, or either me or my wife. Now my wife does it because I've got my new job, and this week she's not doing that, but I guess I drove them last night to school. I dropped them off by their friend's house. But, well, it says school bus stop ahead, so let me honk the horn for that kid to make sure he gets outside, right? His bus is coming. I was able to pass. Now we're in a foggy place. Anybody's just asking, it's so dangerous that you're making these videos. I'll be honest with you, it's more safe that I make a video because I don't look at the camera while I'm making the video. I'm looking at the road. A lot of times I have the phone here, and I'm more tempted to look at Mishnayos or something like that while I'm driving, because this way, during this time I'm driving, I get this out of the way. I have my devotional learning, and I don't have that much time to do it. So, especially now, thank God, I'm working full time. Very excited by that. Excuse me. So, hopefully today I should make it to work on time. Yesterday I was quite late. Today I'm on time. Well, maybe still a few minutes late, I don't know. But I want to get back to this about Alex Jones, and he was talking about eugenics and breeding and this and that, and then he got into something very interesting. Again, I wasn't paying that much attention to it, so I don't know exactly what he was saying. But he was talking about how, there are certain people he said they're like robots. That their intelligence is so high, and perhaps they're also on this Asperger's spectrum, and they see other human beings as animals, as bugs, as ants, or as cattle, something useful, one interesting thing, and he mentioned Carl Jung. Again, I would like to learn more about Jung. I was asking the psychologist at work yesterday if he had ever studied Jung, and he's a Jewish from Russia, and he said that in Russia it was forbidden to study Jung. To me, that shows that there is something really good about Jung if the Russians prohibited studying his works. Again, I don't know that much about Jung, but pretty much everything I know about Carl Jung I learned from Rabbi Bart Tzadok at koshertorah.org or .com. I don't remember. It's been a while. koshertorah.com, right? Maybe .org. I don't know. But Rabbi Bart Tzadok is an interesting fellow. I met him once. I highly recommend him. You can learn a lot from him. And he's also one of these dynamic people who changed over the years. You know, he's been on the internet forever, you know, since the 90s, which doesn't seem like that long ago to me, you know, but I think I'm just talking. So don't think you're going to get anything out of this video. I'm just going to talk, ramble on. I mean, it's going to be a little bit more intellectual than yesterday's video with the, you know, 6 degrees of separation and hold the bacon. But, you know, that was more fun, and that was actually more or less staged, actually. That one was planned. That was a conversation I was having with my kids. And I was like, you know what? I should have been recording this. And so then my kids said, all right, so say it again. I was like, you know, that's what they do in these reality shows, is that they'll take something that really happened and restage it with the same people. You know, it's not reality. It's not while it's happening. It's like, oh, this happened. So now let's get these people together and restage these events and kind of dramatize them, but with the real people. Do they still make reality shows? I don't know. And there's so many different types of reality shows, you know. But do they still do that? I don't know. You know, I'm so disconnected from popular culture. You know, what I think, you know, and when I talk to people about what I pay attention to, like a lot of people, you know, like when I think, oh, you know, this in the news, that's a big deal because I heard it on the news, not just on, you know, Glenn Beck or whatever. I heard it on like a real news, you know. It's not just I heard it on Sean Hannity. I'm not a big fan of Sean Hannity. I don't dislike him. I don't put him in the same category with Alex Jones. It's different reasons why, you know, like someone who I look up to and have tremendous respect for is Glenn Beck, because this is a man who has worked on himself, overcome addictions, and, you know, some years ago, I'm getting off subject, but I put my full faith in God that whatever's coming out of my mouth is what's supposed to come out. So I'm not going to try to control this. I'm just going to let things flow and let go and let God. And I'm not saying I'm a prophet or anything like that. That's so beautiful. Here's that. I'm not mafsik mishnasai. I should be. You see, that's the thing. The whole thing is hefsik mishnasai. I could be learning mishnayos now, and instead I'm talking to you all, which is okay. But we should be learning something. There was a mishnah I wanted to make a video about. Let's get back first to. I remember some years ago, I was asked to speak to offer a blessing. They brought different clergy, spiritual leaders of different faiths to offer a blessing to a rehab center that was being opened in Richmond. And And so they invited me to come represent the Jewish community. And I sounded the shofar, and I read there's a prayer printed in the Singer Siddur. Anybody know what the Singer Siddur is? Heard of the Hertz Chumash? What about the Singer Siddur? The Singer Siddur was the official. They still have a Singer Siddur. They changed it a little bit. I think now it's Lord Jonathan Sachs. His Siddur now is the official Siddur. But the Singer Siddur was the official Siddur of the British Empire, and then it was published in America by a Hebrew publishing company as well. I have a few copies of it. It's considered, in a sense, almost the authorized version of the Siddur by the Chief Rabbinate of England. That's interesting, in so much the way that the Church of England has an authorized translation of the Bible. So, like the United Synagogue of England wanted to mimic a lot of the approaches of the Church of England to have an official prayer book with official translation. So I believe it was Singer's Siddur was the authorized Siddur of England, if I'm not mistaken. So in there, you'll find certain things that you're not going to find in other Siddur. That's why I always loved, when I was a kid, and still to today, I love to look at a Siddur and see a Siddur is a Jewish prayer book. See what is in this Siddur that I'm not going to find in another Siddur, right? What is going to be in this prayer book that some obscure prayer that's not really part of our tradition. It's just something. It's a later edition. It's usually might even be totally made up, but it's interesting, and there are all kinds of collections like this. I mean, I taken a picture. I have to type this in online. I found in the Satmar Cemetery a prayer from an old German Siddur, Frankfurt, for Hakomas Matseva, for what they call in American an unveiling, Matseva Stellen. Very interesting prayer, and I took a picture of it, and I would like to inscribe it and translate it. It's brief, but I would love to use this at every unveiling I do. I'm not necessarily going to say all the Tehillim the way the Hasidic minhag is, but that short prayer at the end, those are the type of things I'd love to find. Anyway, so in the Singer Siddur, it has a Mishaberach for a bar mitzvah, which is interesting and useful, even though I don't know that many places that use it. I think we're coming up to this big dip on this road, which is always fun. Usually I'm going a little bit faster. Let's see, this is it. Whoa! Even going 40 miles an hour, it's still like a roller coaster ride. And now I can just keep my foot off the gas and just roll pretty much all the rest of the way to work. Not quite, but I remember Andrew Levine's a friend of Racha. He would turn his car off at, like, near Monroe. He said there's he's like, that's how you're gonna save gas. If you have a car with a stick shift, he called it hyper driving. And I looked it up online, and because like my wife, like, did Andrew just make that up? And no. I looked it up online. Other people, they called it or hyper coasting or something. I don't remember what it is. Where like you coast down the hill, but like you actually like turn your car off. Because like if you have a stick shift, you could just turn the car off and just coast for miles. He said, he found something that's like, just before you get on the Palisades, that area near Monroe, like going toward the city, and it's like, he's like, basically you could coast for about 3 miles, not put your foot on the gas, and he had a stick shift car, so he would just, guy turning, what's going on here? There's all this stuff falling here. This chewing gum is empty. So I'm just rambling on. So he just turned his car off. I gotta be stuck behind the guy who's only going 10 miles over the speed limit. I want to get to work. Alright. Well, you two could play at this game, sir. So anyway, now he's going the speed limit. So might make it time. We'll see what happens. It's all Min Hashemayim. Don't get upset. So I want to get back to, and this is kind of actually connected to the Mishnah that I wanted to discuss. 2 Mishnayos I wanted to discuss. Let's get back to Alex Jones. He was saying, certain people gain power and then they use other people. And the interesting thing that he was saying, he said that the Ashkenazi Jews tend to have a higher IQ and things like this, that, whatever. He was discussing the issues behind that. You can watch the video yourself. I'm not going to put a link. You can find it on InfoWars if you want to. It's, even the craziest things have a kernel of truth to them. And after listening to it, I know friends of mine who just are like, oh, you listen to too much Alex Jones. Well, did you ever listen to Alex Jones? Like, be open-minded enough. I'll listen to NPR and listen to left-wing radio. I'm not, I'm not saying, oh, those left-wingers, I can't learn anything from them. No. In fact, I like a lot of stuff on NPR. I really miss the Writer's Almanac. I loved that. My kids loved it. My daughter was like, well, because he wasn't Shomer Negia. Like, it wasn't even like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. There must be something else to that story with, what's the name? Pearson Keeler? But I always like listening to him. And that voice, that was maybe he'll be back. Maybe he'll be on what? Is it Dan Rather or Tom Brokaw? I don't even know the difference between them at this point. He's on their show. I don't want to take the risk to pass them. It's like a car full of kids. Or full of adults, actually. I can see the windmills now. I can more or less see where I'm trying to get to. And I'm going to get there in the next... Over here, this should be safe enough. Enough visibility, I should be able to pass here. So anyway, even though it doesn't have the dotted lines, I gotta get to work. I don't have time to sit behind this guy who's like taking the scenic route. So, look at how beautiful the scenery is. I love the scenery too, but I gotta get to work. I am ridiculous today, aren't I? So, I don't know what's going on. So anyway, and he was talking talking about how people are manipulated and how people look down on other people. And again, I wasn't really paying that much attention, but he's like, at the end he said, like, I'm warning the Jews, don't let the elitists control you. And I like that too. And he said that his wife was Jewish, and he likes Jewish people. He doesn't have anything against. He's not anti-Semite. He's not but he sees things through racial lenses, but not in a hateful way. He's pro-human more than anything else, and that's something. And this is where I see eye to eye with him. Like it's brilliant what he said, that essentially what he calls the globalists are seeking to decentralize society because they're trying to amass power, and brilliant stuff, and I agree with him. I don't want to see and question comes in, like with Israel, and it seems like this guy is pretty happy with Netanyahu, and I can see why a lot of right-wing people would be. I mean, he's definitely a lesser of two evils when Netanyahu. The Israeli left is much worse than the Israeli right, but the Israeli right is still pretty bad. Again, like I said before, Israel is like, the least of 20 evils in the region, so like, it's still evil, but it's not, and like yesterday I saw a tweet talking about, it said the other victims of Israel are the Orthodox Jews who are being persecuted and brutalized by the Israeli government. And my take on it is these are the real victims. And I don't care if that means that it's going to make me less politically popular to say that on both sides, because the left is going to be like, why don't you care about the poor Palestinians? I do care about the poor Palestinians. But the Palestinians are the victims of the Palestinian leadership. They're not the victims of Israel. The Jews are the victims of the Israelis. The religious Jews, all religious Jews, including the religious Zionists, are the victims of Zionism of Israel. And this is kind of what I want to get into. How essentially that's what we're dealing with here. I mean, because the fact of the matter is, Israel bends over backwards to help the Palestinians. They give them everything. They give them all kinds of free stuff, electricity and water, which is a very valuable commodity in a desert. You name it, and all kinds of money, and they bend over backwards, to a fault in their kindness and charity to the Palestinians. If you want to I'll call them Palestinians. They're just as much Palestinians as the Israelis are Israelis. They're both made up ideas, but it is what it is. That's the fact that, all these people, they're fakistinians. So like, all right, if they want to call themselves Palestinians, they're not going to, all right, even if they made it up, in the 60s, it's like Kwanzaa, basically, but I remember some years ago, a Jewish task force, these extremist Michigan Kahanists, they are on public access TV, pretty much. I'm extremist Michigan here on TV, on YouTube. They're on YouTube too, I think. used to watch them all the time. Chaim ben Pesach. And there's some good, useful things from their stories and stuff. But he Chaim ben Pesach. What? I never even saw that kangaroo statue there. That's pretty cool. I've been down this road how many times? There are things you don't even realize. There could be Bigfoot right here and a UFO right here. I wouldn't see it. You ever think about that? You know, I mean, that's why in the end of the movie, The Thing, they say keep watching the skies. Why am I have logorrhea right now, don't I? So what am I talking about right now? I want to talk a little bit. I know this is ridiculous. So anyway, I always wave to these guys holding the signs. I don't know. They used to wave back. Maybe they don't like the hat and the payas. I don't know. Sometimes they wave back even with the hat and the payas. I don't know. So, you see, I can't get anti-Semitism out of my mind as much as I try. You know, I had a discussion the other day with the rabbi, and like the first thing he brought up is like, no matter how secular a Jew is, every Yid believes Esav Soines Yaakov, and I'm like, I want to get that out of my system. I don't believe that, and there's no makor for it, and it's really quite a ridiculous statement, and it's totally misunderstood. I should make another video about that, but a lot of more competent bloggers have discussed that issue of Esav Soines Yaakov. But here I am, almost to work, so I gotta wrap this up. I got about 10 minutes left till I get to work, so I really gotta wrap up this video, come to some kind of a denouement, and not just be rambling on. Somehow bring all of these loose ends together. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but maybe it will, maybe it won't. What were we talking about here? Excuse me. Talking about Alex Jones, how he was saying that there are people who like control other people. They see them as cattle. And you know, I think that's certainly something that I had to deal with in my youth and overcome. You know, that was a problem, excuse me, that I had. You know, I had this elitist mentality, and religion has really helped me to try to overcome that, to try to look at everybody. You know, the Geras Ramban is a brilliant brilliant piece of writing. The Epistle of Nachmanides, I always love to call it that, Has anybody ever seen that here? I mean, I know the people probably are familiar with it, and Art Scroll has done a wonderful job getting that out there, and it's something they print in a lot of Siddurim, going back to what I was saying about different things they printed in Siddurim. What I wanted to talk about, let's get back to that. I said that we can learn sometimes more from the recovering addicts than we can from those who have never fallen into addiction. It says in Psalm 139, if I go up to heaven, you are there, and I descend into hell, behold, you are there. And I think, there's something to be said about that. Remember, Nachman Breslover, that's one of the central biblical verses to his theology. It's right, Psalm 139? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't always remember. If I go up to heaven, you are there. I go down to hell, behold, you are there. Behold, you are there. Meaning, up in heaven, we know you're there, but it's not as obvious that God is in heaven. But when you go down to the pit, to the grave, to hell, and behold, you are there. It's like I always said from Seinfeld, George Costanza sitting on, laying on the couch with the therapist, and he said, God is not going to let me be successful. And he said, I thought you don't believe in God. He said, well, I do for the bad things. There's no atheist in a foxhole. A few weeks ago, remember I spoke about a need for atheist chaplaincy. And I started my new job last week, and out of over 1,500 men, one is listed as an atheist. And a new guy came in, he says he's an atheist, but he says God talks to him. I was like, well, how can you be an atheist if God is talking to you? He said, well, he recognizes that that's a delusion. That's pretty good, actually. But then the next day, he's asking about, I want to, start discussing, I want to learn about these different religions. He grew up Baptist, and he wants to learn about the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons and this and that, and he asking questions about Judaism and he's saying, well, he needs something to believe in. So thankfully we don't have that need to fill it, but there are plenty of people who are listed under no religion at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them most of them are religious or believe in something. There's no atheist in a foxhole. I go up to heaven, you are there. I descend into hell, and behold, you are there. Meaning there's things that we can learn from people who've been through hell that we can't learn from people whose lives have always been perfect. Again, stuck behind another slow poke here. I'm really hungry. And that's an aspect of Glenn Beck and his ministry. That because he's been through hell, he has a way. He can give perspectives other people cannot. And now, and I myself, thinking about how corrupt, how horrible I was as a child. What a lousy kid I was. What a selfish brat I was. And I still am. And I'm trying to get over that. And I'm trying to find religion. And I've been a religious guy for most of my life at this point, and I'm still trying to find religion. What I mean by, there's this song, who was that, REM, Losing My Religion, and I always thought it was like becoming an atheist or something, and then I looked into, and it always bothered me, and then I found out that this is actually a Southern expression, not for someone who's giving up going to church, but someone who, when they're at the bar and someone's fighting with them, then they're losing their self-control, losing my religion. And I'm just trying to find religion. Most people would say I'm a nice guy, offline. It's interesting what Matt Walsh said. Because people are there are people who online say things that they wouldn't say offline. They say things on Twitter that they would never say in real life. And most people would say, well, that's their internet persona, but in real life they're nice people. And this bothered me. It shook me up what Matt Walsh said. He said, no, this is who you really are. If this is how you talk to people online, even if you're a nice guy all the time, this is who you really are. And the fact is, I won't call someone a commie to their face, but on Twitter I throw out commie all the time. And the thing is, I really believe it. I really believe that a lot of these people are a threat to society, and I'm trying to wake them up. And I say it because I love them, because I really assume they don't want to be commies. But I don't have a problem. But I would never say that to someone's face. In real life, I would never call someone a commie. But on Twitter, I call everybody a commie. But I believe it. It is who I really am, and the person who I am when I'm being nice to everybody, it might not really be who I am. It's who I want to be, which is good. I do want to be nice to everybody, including online. I think I'm going to accomplish more if I throw out that commie term if I insult everybody. I'm not going to call someone, a racist name or a vulgar name, even on Twitter most of the time. I don't remember ever doing that. That I would stop twice before I would do. But absolutely, the commie, that comes out. Marxist, commie, this and that. But I believe it's true. I do believe, maybe Marxist is a little bit more politically correct, and commie is a little bit more offensive. But I say it really kind of giving tough love, trying to wake people up to recognize how destructive their mentality is and how they've been duped. I don't mean it to say that these are bad people. I mean it that these are people who just really maybe don't even. All right, I already have potato chips here. What am I going to eat here? I never feel hungry in the morning. I just need to be hydrated. Have some seltzer. Yom Echad Shloshim Yom Shehem Arba Shavuos Shloshim Yom Lomer. It takes 31 days or 4 weeks. 3 days to Yom Rachel. Just realize Avodas Beis Hamikdash Limkoma, because right now the Avodas Beis Hamikdash is in our hearts and that's where it belongs. I mean, is it in our hearts? That's the question. It might be in our mouths when the Shalom farms Faseno. But is it really in our hearts? Are we really offering korbanos in our hearts? All right, the Shalom farms Faseno. And the Satmar says that this in Hosea, that the offerings of our lips will take place of the bulls, but really, if you translate it precisely, that our lips will pay for the bulls, or the bulls will pay for our lips. Meaning, really, the real goal is to develop a personal relationship with God. Someone was complaining that to me. He said he's in Mexico, he's trying to convert to Judaism, and he's like, is there something wrong that he's coming out of Christianity and he feels that the Jews are just more all about culture and identity, and he wants to have a personal relationship with God, and he's like, is that just a vestige of his Christianity? Does he have to shed that when he enters into Judaism? I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We need more of that in Judaism. And that comes back to what he was talking about, and what Alex Jones was talking about, and what I'm talking about here. Israel, all this talk about, false flag, this and that. That's why they support the Palestinians, because they need that permanent enemy class. And so they have to support them in order to have this permanent enemy. And what is their goal? Is to destroy the Jewish people and destroy Judaism. That's the goal of the Zionists. Not the religious Zionists, but the religious Zionists are the victims of the secular Zionists. Because the religious Zionists are bought into somehow this, Hamadina Kadosh, right? I've heard this. I heard that, our Heilige Medina, I heard people talk like that. They're like, what the hell are you talking about? Our Heilige Medina, the holy state of Israel? It's not holy. But they believe it is. Reb Simcha Cook, I didn't go hear him speak, but a friend of mine said he went to hear him speak in Kugan Sills. He said, our holy Medina, this is what they're doing to our holy Medina. Because he was brainwashed by his uncle to think that there's some Kedusha in this Medina, that there's some holiness in the state of Israel more than the holiness of the whole world. I'm at work now, so thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment, all the best. But that's the issue. That's what Alex Jones is warning the Jews. We are being victimized. We are the real victims of the state of Israel. We shouldn't let, and we should embrace individuality and not globalism. And we should reject centralized authority, but rather focus on self-government, self-determination, things like this. And in this way, we're going to be more successful. I don't mean to reject the government of America, stuff like that. That's not what I mean. I mean to uphold what the Constitution always meant to be about. This is what President Trump said when he was inaugurated. I'm now returning the power to the people. I didn't win, you won. And that's the truth. We won. Donald Trump didn't win. The American people won. Thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment all the best.